Nice picture. Very nice.
Yes, it was. And I just decided, well, my three colors are red and magenta and gray, which is really odd. It's not a combination that makes you feel hungry. It's not a combination that marketers would say, wow, this must get my dishes or my clothing clean because it's got these colors. I kind of wanted colors that didn't make sense, that kind of fight each other, because I just wanted it to kind of feel like what's going to happen here. The gray to me is what happens here, up in the hair. And then red should be stop, but I make it the most important thing to me is better. It's like, if you're just going to come on my show and go, aging, I didn't like it when my parents did it, I don't like it now. Well, there's probably a podcast somewhere else for complaining and saying, my congressman needs to do something about my aging. And so, oh, wait a minute. See, I just left out the fact that we are actually in two separate countries. Michael, you are in Calgary, Alberta.
Yep.
And congressman, I can't even, parliament comes to my mind. But am I up on how things go there? No, that was just a wonderful place to visit when I lived in Oregon, because it was a good long drive away, stay overnight at the very top of the state of Washington, and go on into British Columbia. So you wouldn't write to your congressman, would you? Would you write to your...
My prime minister or the
Oh,
congress?
maybe.
Yeah. Or
what
the
was the other one?
premier. The premier. Yeah.
Sure, whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
just like, we need things changed, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. No, I
Yay.
haven't done that yet, but I think I probably should.
Well, Michael, I really want you to have the opportunity to let both Vicky and Kristen know who you are, what you're
Sure.
about, anything that you want to talk about, your path to this point. It's so fun to me. I rarely hear the voice of the people that are going to be on my screen. So it's just a lovely surprise to meet each of you. And sometimes someone goes, you can tell I was born somewhere else, huh? Or something. And this one gal, she gave us this list that, like, where she was born in Ireland, but she lived her early childhood in Egypt. And by the time she got to the end, she goes, and that's why I have this accent, which was,
Yeah.
it was very rich and amazing to listen to. You sound North American. You all sound North American, but different parts of. So yes, please.
I didn't always sound like that, I guess.
What?
Yeah. No, I came to
Okay, I want to
Canada.
know about that. It's time. Let's see. We're 3 minutes in. Shush,
Yep.
shush the host. Shh. I love it. I get excited that you're here. So I'm shushing myself and saying, Michael, you're saying you didn't always sound like that. So just go with that, and we'd just love to hear
Sure.
what you'd love to talk about.
Yeah, sure. So I immigrated to Canada when I was 6 with my family to avoid the whole communist, takeover by China back in the '86 there. Obviously, I couldn't speak much English when I came, but I did a couple of shows and stuff, talked about my upbringing. It was it was quite good. Like I remember there's no bullying happening. I was felt like I fitted in my elementary and junior high classes. My friends were mostly Caucasian back then, so probably why I got the training I did. But I didn't get the racism stuff till high school. I think that was when that actually happened. But I was a straight A student up to grade 9, and my mom passed away from cancer. So things went downhill from there. And my best friend, she was the nurturing part of the family, and my dad was the sergeant. Not as loving and caring. Asian families are not hugging, kissing kind of people. So then I got in a lot of trouble fighting, like just got kicked out of school and just, joined like a little gang and stuff and caused a lot of havoc. And yeah, just from there. And then growing up, just discrimination, worked at hotel management. So I was a busboy, bellman, dishwasher. I did everything. Then I went to take a hotel management. I got scholarships and everything. Tried to get the management position. The guy gave it to his best friend who had no experience. So then I just like fed up, like, I'm done with this hotel stuff, and then started doing real estate. Then I did stocks and entrepreneur stuff, right? So then over the years I learned trauma, PTSD,
Right.
addiction, alcoholism, and now I'm 6 months sober, which is great. I've cut off all my toxic friends in my life, focused on my current business, which is now thriving. So
Wow.
basically 10 years ago, I had a retinal detachment. That's how it kind of started. I almost lost my vision on my right side. After that, I had two cataract surgeries, and then I noticed I was tripping, falling, clumsy. I was shoulder checking people on the right side only. I would leap off stairs. I would walk into walls. At nighttime, I can't find my way around the restaurants. I would get lost, in the washroom. It was crazy. So people thought I was going brain damage for a bit, but it wasn't because of that. So went to get my eyes checked. They said I have something called retinitis pigmentosa, which is I've lost my peripheral on one side. It's shrunk down to tunnel vision on one side. So hence why I keep shoulder checking people on the left side, right? So over the years, I've met a lot of seniors. I'm always in and out of the eye clinic specialists, and they're always wondering why I'm there and think I got in an MMA fight, and got punched in the eye or something, but I didn't. So after that, I just started to ponder. I'm like, I want to do something, can help, other people like me, right? So my family owns factories in Asia, and we were just thinking of ideas, and we decided we centered to a product that was bone conduction, open ear bone conduction headphones, right? So it looks kind of like this. So it looks like this, right? And it's worn on the outside, not on the inside of the ears, right? So when you put it on, it sits on front of your ear, like your cheekbone. So there's nothing in your ear. There's nothing obstructing your ear canal like hearing aids. So no earwax buildup. And I decided to add this amplification feature into the headphone. So now it becomes a headphone / assistive hearing device. And there's no stigma attached to it because it doesn't look like a hearing aid. So no one can tell it's a hearing aid, but it works like a hearing aid, except you use bone conduction, which is sound vibrations, right? That amplify through your skull into your inner ear. So I've worked with hundreds, thousands of seniors, people, autistic children, labor workers, from factory workers, firefighters, anyone that has, mechanics, anyone that had work-related trauma to their ears. They wear this, their tinnitus is minimized, they can hear, very clearly with this headphone, because this amplification is, it aids hearing. So now people can socially engage with this headphone, which is something no one's ever done. So that's why my family, we have it patented, trademarked all across North America. I'm doing Dragon's Den next year, auditioning. I did a couple of shows. That's a spin-off of Shark Tank that I already did in Miami. So I sent you the link for that. And that show is called Legacy Makers. And there's celebrities on it that's featured. And on top, there's 225 entrepreneurs around the world. I'm one of very few Canadians on the show that's showcasing our journey, struggles, everything leading up to our final, success or product, whatever we want to promote, right? So, and on top of that, I've been doing like 20, 30 podcasts, pretty much lined up throughout the next 3 months, just global reach, just trying to spread this awareness that this product is out there and that it can help people of all ages, because I have this new prototype that works so well that seniors are saying it works better than hearing aids for $300 as opposed to $8,000. And seniors have spent, money on 2 or 3 sets that they keep losing because they're so small. And those hearing aids are just so darn uncomfortable to wear, and they lose it. They pull the wires out. They lose one, they got to replace the other. The dog eats it. I've heard every single story out there. So
Yeah.
with this device, you don't have to worry about that. If you lose it, you lose $300, right? But you can use this as a primary backup. You can use it for anything. You can pair it to your phone. You can listen to music. You can watch TV. You can stream, and now you can socially engage with it too, with outdoor, indoor, vocal mode, 3 different modes with noise reduction, so it actually minimizes the background sounds, which hearing aids actually do. So there's just so much potential in this that everyone tells me is going to change the hearing industry. So that the hearing companies are going to be a little worried because this is so affordable and that it's so comfortable that people are just fed up of wearing hearing aids, right? So that's why that's pretty much what I'm doing now.
Wow. I'm gonna backpedal to part
I can't
of.
hear anything on your end.
Oh no. Am I disconnected? Can you hear me, Kristen?
I can, yes.
All right.
Can you guys hear me? I can't hear you guys.
So, that's too bad. I'm gonna let him work on that, and yeah. Well, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. So what he was saying, and he'll hear this when he hears the recording, which is in the archives, both YouTube and LinkedIn, on my website, agingbeternetwork.com.
Yeah, I can't hear anyone. It's weird.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh boy, I'm not helpful, am I? So, Scott, for the moment, I'm going to have you go ahead and mute Michael. And if you can do that, Scott. Oh, fantastic.
Hello?
I appreciate. Whoops. No, that's okay. We can't control it right now. So I'm just going to do a recap. I feel like when he lost his mother, that humanity almost lost him. That Michael may have still continued to live to this day, but would not have had all that he was capable of pouring into what we can see is dynamic and helpful. And also that dealing with and overcoming and with this
Hello. Check.
retina
Hello.
situation, I feel like having to go to a place where he was around people who also had obstacles, also had losses of people, losses of capabilities, caused him to take all this energy, maybe some of the anger, the hurt, the lostness, and be able to focus it in a way. I felt that when there were difficulties in my life as I was a caregiver, I thought, these people I can admire who have lived longer and had more to overcome. But I feel that I can understand them better, that they can understand me better as well. So I'm just so grateful. I want to ask him. Michael, are you kidding? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Oh, shoot.
Oh, fantastic. I did a recap, and now I'm going to ask you a question. Well, we've got you. Would it be fair to say that your invention, your device, your innovation has a cousin in the cochlear implant, which obviously is surgical? Is that a cousin of cochlear implants?
Yeah. So the bone anchored hearing, right? That's the one you have to surgically implant in your head. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So that one, I think it costs like $15,000-$20,000 to do, but you have to be on a waiting list. And obviously, no senior wants to do this kind of surgery to implant a little thing in their head, right? So this is obviously a great option you just take on and off whenever you feel like, which I would pick this, right? $300, and it works. Obviously, I think the other technology is probably way more advanced, right? But I'm sure my new prototype is pretty up there now. So, I mean, I would never want to surgically implant anything in my head to hear anything. So, but I'm sure it works well though.
Well, and for some people, they know they've probably got 40, 50 years and they want what is available today. Is it working for my friend, the lady, the guy down the street, whatever? If it's working for them, I want that because I want to be involved. Michael, what I was saying to the ladies was, when you lost your mom, I feel that we, humanity, nearly lost you. And that somehow in amongst all these obstacles that you overcame, losing sight, losing capabilities that didn't even make sense, and that you were around people who also have experienced body function loss as well as personal loss. Their kids, even their grandkids that they've lost, that you built this bridge of understanding of I'm going to call it otherhood. That you didn't have that much in common with maybe that lady sitting there, but you knew what it was like to wish that your eye functioned as it used to. And she was wishing that she could just interact with people and not do the smile and nod and go, well, I guess they're having fun. It must have been funny what they just said. And why does that person look so sour? Do they not like what that person is saying that has their back to me? Just all that, the social disconnect of not being able to hear. But I think your device has the look that, I'm just going to say, an engineer working for a high-tech company would walk around with that on him, and I'm going to put him in a polo shirt, a really, nice polo shirt. And rats, we lost him again. And that it would be like, oh, is he on a conference call? What's that thing he's wearing? Rather than, oh, that person doesn't hear well, or something like that. It actually looks like a high-tech way of interacting. And I just wanted to ask him why he said, hello, can you hear us? Nope, didn't happen. Okay, so Michael, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to Vicki. And Vicki, you go ahead and speak. And I'm going to trust my husband to do whatever it is that he thinks he might be able to do. He can put his phone number again in the group LinkedIn message or whatever it is that might help out. So Vicki, thank you. Thank you for your time. And I know a bit about you because we were talking earlier.
Well, when you talk about accents, sometimes I tell people that I live in Florida, but when I lived in California, they said, you're not from here. And so, because of my Southern accent. So here in Florida, I fit in a little bit better, but I enjoy living in Florida. I'm up on the nature coast where the old Florida is, with the beautiful manatee. And I'm looking out my window now and I see the Homosassa River and fishing boats go by. So I'm very fortunate to live where I live. But to tell you a little bit about me, my background's, I think, a little unique in terms of what I've been able to create. So I am a recreation therapist, and I have been in healthcare for over 40 years. And I've worked in addiction, people with TBIs, children and adults with autism, Down syndrome, disabilities. I've worked in rehab. And so recreation therapy, if you're not familiar with it, we use a backdoor approach and use activities to reach goals. And so whereas the physical therapist We're on treatment teams. We're in the hospitals. I spent years in clinical, and now I've moved to the community. But if a physical therapist is working on improving standing balance, well, they may have you stand, hold on, and time you. If a recreation therapist sees that goal, what we do is you're standing at the table, but you may be playing beer pong. So you're bouncing ping pong balls into the cups. We play water pong. But it's the idea that it's a distraction. And so they're working on their standing balance, and generally they can stand much longer than the physical therapist can have them stand when they're timed. So that's our approach, using that back door. And I facilitate a memory cafe, a faith-based memory cafe right now. And we use that, helping the family members learn techniques on how to get their family member to engage a bit more. And so we use that backdoor approach. But throughout my career, I've just been blessed. I have learned from every single person I've worked with, every parent that I worked with. And while I was working in addiction, I had a work injury. And so I couldn't continue to work in addiction because I was doing high ropes and, just the rock climbing and all the fun stuff. And so I had to leave addiction. And I thought at that time I loved it, absolutely loved it. And so in my book, The Love Approach to Living with Dementia, it can apply to anyone. It doesn't have to be dementia. It's an approach where you learn to engage even in the shortest conversations to have a meaningful connection. But I talk about pivotal moments in our lives. And that was a big pivotal moment. It was an unexpected career shift for me. I went through a depression. And so I finally found myself and began working in the community with children and adults with disabilities. So it's been a fun ride. But the thing that got me to where I am today is I went to the University of Tennessee, Go Vols. You may have heard of it, I don't know. But Pat Head Summit was the coach of the Lady Vols. Are you familiar with her? Anybody heard her name? Well, she was, at her time of her death, she was the winningest coach in collegiate basketball, men or women. I mean, she was amazing. She's got she's just iconic. And so I was a Lady Vol. And so I enjoyed college and playing sports. But the pivotal moment for me that pivoted me in this direction to specialize in working with seniors, and especially those living with neurocognitive disorders, was in 2011. She was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and she was only 3 years older than me, and so I was just taken back, and I couldn't understand how could she, because she was in much better physical health. I'm sure her nutrition. She was running plays that that really needed a lot of memory. And how could she develop this? And she was only 59 at the time, and so I was 56. And so at that point, I was on a crusade, and I had to figure out how is her family being affected, and how her friends, because she has so many friends and coaches throughout the United States. And so there was a big campaign. We backpacked with T-shirts, and she and her son started a foundation just months after she announced her diagnosis. And the wonderful thing, when I talk about dementia being a disability, the University of Tennessee embraced her. And this was in the fall, and she wanted to complete the season. And so with the support and giving her accommodations, her assistant coach stepped up. There was just more support for her to be able to continue the season. And she won her last championship that year. And so that's why it's so important that we recognize that people can remain in jobs if they have the proper supports. But we have to recognize people living with any type of cognitive decline, cognitive disorder, have ADA rights, and you have a right to go to your boss, but again, the stigma a lot of times keeps us away. But you have a right to go, and your employer can provide accommodations. I mean, I managed summer camps for a long, long time for children with autism, and I had a camp counselor who had a traumatic brain injury, and so his short-term memory was affected. But he was a great staff. The kids loved him, and so he asked for accommodations when he applied for the job, and I did. And so it was simple accommodations like printing out the notes that went over in the staff meeting, simple things like that. He would carry a schedule in his pocket, and so you can provide these simple accommodations and keep people included and engaged in life. So while I was I was in California at the time. I was creating inclusion services for the whole city of San Francisco in their after school programs, the swimming programs, including kids, and including kids that had behaviors that staff didn't understand, or they weren't ready to figure out why that child is having that particular action. And so I became certified as a dementia practitioner at that time, and got the Montessori approach, and just continued to have trainings. And so when I moved to Florida, then I've had my own business for a long time, but I just kind of went full force. And so I finished the book last March, and the book has been the L I learned from a mother who had a child with autism, and we were doing an intake so I could find out what his interests were, things that he was 6 years old and never had attended camp, and Mom and I were talking, and all of a sudden he just jumped up from the chair and put his hands over her ear and just kind of jumping around. And so I looked at Mom, oh, what is it? And Mom just and she said, listen. And so in the very, 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 very far distance, you could hear a lawnmower, and he heard that. And so that was my big lesson, the importance of listening. But the love approach, the book is it's an innovative and a fresh approach in how we shift our paradigm on how we view people living with dementia. And so because 80 to 90% of people living with dementia live in their homes or with an adult child, that's the group we're focusing on. Only 15 to 20% are living in a healthcare facility. And so that's a huge group of people, and they're just not getting the support and help, because I believe that because of the stress and the unknown and the need to do things right and trying to gain all this knowledge, they have their own symptoms, just like dementia has confusion and stress and anxiety. And that's what we focus on when we're looking at somebody with dementia. We're looking at the brain, and we have to look at a more holistic approach. And we have to really integrate our medical model with the social model. And that's a big, big shift that needs to be happening. But the book, it's a workbook style, so the family member can work through and practice and learn, like I say, self-efficacy skills. They have to learn that they can do this. They have to believe that they can do this. And so, we always say knowledge is power. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
Well, I believe knowledge is only potential power. And so you can give all this information to these families, but if they don't apply it, it's not knowledge at all. And so it's getting them to understand and believe that they can have a much better quality of life and well-being with their family member by taking some of these steps. And I teach what's called an eco-psychosocial approach. And so that's a big word, but it's the best word to use rather than non-pharmacological. Because when we say something's non-pharmacological, we're only saying what it isn't. We're only saying it isn't.
Oh, yeah.
Mission. with an eco-psychosocial approach, we're telling you what it is. And so we're looking at the person's environment. We're looking at their social, physical, cognitive, spiritual, emotional, expressive, all those needs as a whole person. And so you use poetry and writing music and storytelling and helping families understand that how to not be a constant corrector. You know, so many of us in general, really black and white thinkers. And so when a person who's telling a story that has some kind of a memory issues, some memories didn't store. And so they may make up a date to fill in the blank because they didn't remember it. And I'll give you an example. I was doing an interview with a gentleman and his wife, and he had on a Marine Corps hat. And so I always try to get on the person's train, get in there and connect with them right away. So I told him my dad was a Marine, and he pulled it down and, you know, showed me. And so we were connected. And so he's telling me all about his service, and he was so proud. His head was up and telling me about World War II. And then he said, but when I was discharged in 1963, all of a sudden, and his wife, I knew what he was talking about. Why should you correct him? But his wife popped him on the arm and she said, it was 1943. And that man, the whole demeanor, he became this childlike figure in a principal's office. He was so shamed and embarrassed. So the book gives really practical reasons reasons and strategies, and it's over the course of my whole career. So what I've learned working with children with autism or whatever, it's just a brand new approach to how should we really support our family members at home. And I mentioned to you earlier that I want to get away from calling the family members caregivers, because when you take on, and Kristen, I think early on you mentioned that when you take on the identity of a caregiver, you lose your identity. You lose the identity that, I was a daughter, wasn't I? Now I'm a caregiver, you know? And then they say, I'm parenting my parents. And it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Children's brains are developing. Your parents' brain is declining. And so it's important what we say, how we say it, and I believe words matter. And so that's the synopsis of my book. And I'm getting ready to launch my trainings to cover that. And the trainings are, you know, when you walk into a caregiver training, and the reason is if you're a husband and wife, okay, it's a balance. Throughout your lives, you make decisions together. Now, let's say your husband's developed some cognitive decline. Keep him involved. Let him decide what shirt to wear. You know, don't tell him you wore that yesterday, or, you know, and he's going to be sitting around the house. What does it matter? But when you take on the caregiver and the imbalance of power, and you have more power and influence on what goes on, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And so I have so many families that call me up. I do a lot of phone coaching, and it's like, I don't know who I am anymore. Help me. So I think just shifting the paradigm is, and I think this is the time I'm on a movement to try to get the attention of more families, because when I started researching for my book, I looked on Amazon at book titles. And if you go to Amazon, you will see the most saddest, negative book titles in terms of supporting someone with dementia. It's like the ticking time bomb, getting through the tsunami of dementia. I mean, it's so scary. It's just that fear-based doesn't work for me. So in caregiver trainings, you'll have healthcare staff and families in the same training. And that's two different needs. That's two different languages, and they need to be separated out. And so, and sometimes they allow the person with cognitive decline to even attend. And that's a big no-no. It's too confusing. I've seen a person cry in a training because of that. So my trainings are, you won't see a brain on a slide in my trainings. You will not see a compromised brain. And that's usually the first thing they show. But you will see doing art. You will see us participating and engaging, and the trainings for the family members is experiential. They're learning self-efficacy by predicting how they're able to complete a task. And so when you think ahead, I can complete this in so many, and then all of a sudden you reach it in less time, you build self-efficacy and the belief in yourself. And so using experiential activities, using art, drama, improv, I'm into improv, to help these families really understand and be able to take these skills and use them effectively at home.
Vicki, can I go back to ping pong balls? So I love practical. And if you're a person and you have the ability to stand, you're not going to stand still in a room and go, checking my balance, thinking about my balance. Am I balancing? Am I balancing as well as I was a moment ago? You're going to be getting something done. You're going to be making a sandwich. You're going to be bringing an item from one side of the room to the other. You're going to be holding up a picture. Which wall do I want to put it on? So what I told myself was, yes, when you're doing something that doesn't emphasize the negative, you're probably off balance, you have to work on your balance. It's not, just exactly what you're saying, the tsunami of Alzheimer's. It's already, here's pictures. This was your brain. This is what it is now. You are lost. Just being able, like, what I can do, I can pick up this ball and I can bounce it. Hey, I got it into a cup. And now you've stood balanced for 8 seconds without focusing on the negative and without second guessing yourself. I just love the practicality of it. Totally agree with the tools are not as useful. They can even be dangerous. They can make things worse if you're not trained. So if the tool is, loving someone and you're not trained to go, I really want to correct them. I really want to tell my husband, say it right. But the loving thing to do is let him finish the feeling of telling his story. So that person needed training. They needed information. They needed the power of knowledge to go, I normally would have said, honey, don't do it that way. Oh my gosh, so you just about blew the whole thing. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm adding a voice to it that you probably don't really need to.
Well, can I add something right there? Because with the water, we play water pong. And I don't know if you were saying you need to be hydrated at the very beginning. I heard the word hydration at some point. But UTIs, urinary tract infections, and dehydration are the number 2 reasons people over the age of 60 are hospitalized. And so in that sneaky backdoor approach, during the cafes, we toast. And so we may toast to somebody's good news. And by the end of the hour and a half, they've had 16 ounces of water. And so when we're playing water pong, and I've got some wonderful videos of this. When they miss, everybody has to take a swig of water. And so it's that backdoor approach of helping family members understand. And the other thing is they can't ask for, the family members can't ask, they can't get up and get their own coffee. They have to ask for help. So they have to ask a volunteer, they can ask their neighbor, they can ask me, but asking for help is the hardest thing these families have to practice. And so we practice that. So, and even when we're working on cognitive skills, I was a cognitive stimulation coach. I still am a cognitive stimulation coach. And so much of that is all you're doing is using the cognitive, your worksheets, adding numbers, matching, we use problem solving with the same cups. We'll turn them with the upside down and have a little rubber band with strings, and then they will all take a string and they have to open up the rubber band, lay it on top of the cup, squeeze the cup, pick the cup up, move it, and stack cups. And so that's working on problem solving. That's working on fine motor, standing balance. So it works on so many, many different things.
Wow, Kristen, you're having fun.
Yes.
hearing everything. People and their lives are fascinating. I want to thank both Michael and Vicki for putting information out about who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, why it's your reason for being, or your how come other people aren't noticing that it could be done this way. I guess I'm going to have to invent it myself. So Kristen, I am so grateful too, because I think I moved you from a different day.
Yeah.
When I was like, this isn't going to be interesting, just you and me on the screen. I'm fine. But that to know someone in another spot who has some similarities or some obstacles that they've overcome, or uses rubber bands and lets it squeak and then moves. I can't think of that. I've thought of some other things, but Kristen, what are you about, and what do you love to talk about? And maybe even what are some of the solutions that you practice or love to pass along to others?
Sure. So my journey starts when I was a very little girl. I was born and raised in northeastern Pennsylvania, and I'm still currently here in this wonderful heat wave we're experiencing. I grew up as the youngest of three, and I was a very quiet child, but I observed. I was always an observer. I observed. I was nosy. I wanted to know everything and anything I could. When I was around 9 years old, we experienced some changes throughout my grandmother and great-grandmother, changes that were a little odd here and there. My great-grandmother was 81 when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, your typical aging Alzheimer's. She'd forget some things here and there, so much so we ended up moving her into a nursing home. My grandmother, however, was very, very young when we experienced these changes. She was officially diagnosed around 61. And I remember I was about 9 years old when she was diagnosed, and I was extremely close to both of them. I witnessed my mother take on the role of stepping in and being their provider, and my grandfather. From that day, I think I found my voice. As a very quiet little girl, I found my voice and was determined. I was extremely determined. More than not, I feel aging and cognitive decline are people view them as very taboo topics. When families avoid these discussions, they miss the chance to be able to plan and connect meaningfully, as well as to help reduce fear. When we normalize conversations, and I think, Vicki, you touched on this a little bit, we're able to become empowered, but also include. And it's extremely important that we're able to include individuals who have dementia, who are aging, in the choices to make them feel important, because they are important and they'll never lose their importance, even if they lose memories. We are individuals and we are aging as well, even though we are caring for people who are aging a little differently. My inspiration for my book, Forever and Always What Alzheimer's Can Take, I made a promise when I was 11 to my Grammy, when the day she had passed away, at my final goodbye, that I would be the voice for her. I would always be her voice, no matter what. And I would make a difference in the fight against the disease, and a difference in how families perceive dementia and cognitive decline. Writing the book for me was a part of keeping the promise. I wanted to be able to create something that would comfort as well as educate and empower families who walk this difficult road and maybe don't have their voice quite yet, maybe are still trying to figure out what voice it is they're trying to find, especially within kind of trying to explain dementia to younger children, such as I was. Again, I was always very determined. So I went on, and I was always the nerd of the family. I think my parents will be the first to tell you that, but I took great pride in being a nerd. I would rather study than go out with friends. And I went on to get my bachelor's, my master's, and now I'm working on my PhD to help educate and help keep people aware of the forever changing aging process and what it means to everyone, and certain individuals, they experience it a little differently. I currently work as a psychotherapist in Northeastern Pennsylvania, and I see a lot of individuals who do care for family members who have dementia, or even individuals with dementia themselves. And getting to be a part of that and getting to help make a difference is something that I could have never even imagined that I would get to this point. And I think that's why it is so important to continue educating and continue advocating. I currently am a volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association. I'm a dementia educator and a dementia advocate, because I feel that it's extremely important that we do talk about cognitive decline, especially for a loved one. But it's very important that you start gentle and you start early. You know, you express concern, but without judgment. You say things such as, I've noticed you've been forgetting appointments. Do you feel okay about that? You seek evaluation sooner rather than later, because for an individual experiencing dementia, experiencing the early stages where they can still notice, hey, what's going on? I'm forgetting some things. They become scared and they may not want to talk about it because they don't know. They don't know how to bring it up. And I think that behind it is that stigma of it's easier to kind of make excuses and it's easier to push it down rather than talk about it. And I know personally with my grandmother, you know, she would say things that were so not her normal things at all. It was like a whole new person. And, you know, there were times where she'd upset family members and there were times where they wouldn't want to come around. And again, it was so taboo because that's not her. That's not our Grammy. That is what dementia does. It's what it causes. But they weren't very well educated within that. And they just stopped coming altogether. And that part was probably one of the hardest things to experience, is having this incredible, amazing woman who did everything and anything she could for so many people and not have the same support that she provided because of the things that her dementia caused for her. And when she had passed away, she was, again, in her very early 60s. She was very, very early onset dementia, and it changed all of our world. And I think that truly is the reason why I do it. And the reason behind my book is so that I can help others, no matter what stage they are in the dementia process. If it's a loved one they're caring for, if it's, you know, if they're the ones caring for, if they're the ones that have it, even that they can find comfort and, you know, realize that just while Alzheimer's may change memories or behaviors, it doesn't erase their love. It doesn't erase the dignity or the person's core spirit. There's a connection, there's meaning, and there's moments of joy to be found even in those hard times. I want families to feel less afraid and more equipped to walk this journey with compassion and to walk it with knowledge and be able to ask for help when help is needed. I think witnessing my mother take that role, I saw when she lost her mother and when she lost her grandmother, she lost herself, not once, but twice. And every day, it's been 15 years since they both had passed, 9 months from one another in the same year. And 15 years it's been. And 15 years, it doesn't get any easier. And I still see bits and pieces of my mom. And it's heartbreaking, very heartbreaking. But again, as Vicki had said, you need the tools, you need techniques, and you need training and education to be able to, again, realize that you don't have to lose yourself and you don't have to do it all on your own. There are resources and there are others who can help and aid. And that's extremely important so that you don't lose yourself and you don't risk anything, because you could make yourself go and have mental and physical health issues from taking on all of this. It's important that you don't.
Wow. I really need a definition from you. This is just Kristen and I right now. So, nerd. I love to read for information. And I will get a little bit lost in my research, and then I create something and I, you know, put together this whole thing about which flies in the face for some people because of the way that they express how they work on neurocognitive change. So I just, you know, I'm writing this whole thing about, You are not parenting your parents, because parenting is getting someone ready to advance and to take on more individually and then become independent. And so that's kind of my beef there. And I'm like, so when I spend way too much time looking through and checking on what other people have written, and then I go off on little things and I watch a video of something, I'm going, ugh, that's all CG. Why did I even look at that? And then I create this masterpiece and I forget to save it. And then I have to create it again. Is that nerd? Am I a nerd?
I think that would be passionate. I think we could use the word passionate there. I think.
Obsessed.
There's
When
nothing wrong
you
with
call
being
yourself a nerd, is it because you study and observe things and hold back,
Yeah.
slow burn, and now it catches fire and Kristen Innocenti comes out and is like, "Ooh, I've got this. I'm doing this." I don't know. How would you define yourself?
As a nerd, I think it comes from after losing my grandmother and great grandmother, like I had mentioned, not even 9 months from one another. I stuck on to my mom because I thought at 11 that if I lost them, those two so easily, I would soon lose my mother as well. So I would take up time instead of hanging out with friends, instead of going to the movies, going to the mall, doing normal 11-year-old things. I would sit at home. But I had to find purpose. I had to find reason behind it. So I would take, and I did. I researched Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline, what all that meant, and became obsessed with it. And I would sit there and I would observe and observe, so much so that my parents would say, Kristen, that's not healthy. You need to stop. It's go out with your friends, go out and do this. But even now at 28, I'm not even a year away from receiving my PhD. And when I tell you that I don't know what I'm going to do and I'm not in school anymore because school brings comfort to me, I 100% believe that I would be lost if I was not a nerd. And to me, a nerd is somebody who would prefer to do schoolwork and studying over going to the mall or going out shopping, going to the movies. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Oh my goodness. So Vicky went through a change. You said the word depression, Vicky. And so there we go. Chris and Vicky know each other. And when you're just like, okay, this is what it's like when you're in one of those tanks that doesn't let you feel anything. You're just, and it's like, I can do that for 30 minutes, but I don't want to do this for the next 3 months or whatever. And Michael, you have been through, I don't even know if through is the right thing. You have had so much. I don't know your age, and I kind of don't even care. I mean, you could tell me, oh, I've gone through each of these things in normal amounts of time that other people go through them. But it's just been boom, boom, and the layers stay on of everything. And you're at this point looking at entering a very broad platform, and I'm just going, you're going to have more people contacting you, and more. It's just going to be more. People will want to help market to you. They're going to be saying, oh, we should put our two things together because mine does this, and let's become partners, or whatever it is, and I'm just going, that's just life. Oh my goodness. I don't even want to use the word navigate. Life just, sometimes I just want to do something mindless and stop my mind for a while and stop trying to fix everything or whatever. But I was grateful for a moment when someone gave me yet another empty journal. And I just wrote on the first page, I know why I'm here, and a smiley face. Because that's the way I felt that day. I know why I'm here. Maybe here in this region of Earth, or here because of people that I've met that see, that understand me. I don't know. I'm so grateful for those moments. So I think I'm just doing introspection right now. And you all three of you have helped me to realize, I mean, I definitely go through times where I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm so grateful that I'm volunteering now, driving people to their appointments and what have you, because I always think, and it's going to be like this, and it changes and it's different. And I go, you know what? This person is the one who's being a blessing to me. Or I just handled kind of an odd situation that just happened. And look, we're all in one piece. It's okay. And and it's okay to innovate and do something that you feel like hasn't really been addressed. Feel like it hasn't been addressed by someone else. Kristen, I love that you made a promise to your grandma that you can actually keep. Because it's not really something that you end. You're not climbing that mountain peak and then it will be ended, but that you're being her voice, that you are stepping forward. Vicki, I value that you are advocating. A person is in their position, in their job, at work, employed, and they need accommodations to continue doing what they do. You don't just delete them because they said that other D word. You don't delete them. You go, then what is helpful here? And who's an expert on it? And what resources do we already have? And call HR and find somebody who's got some empathy in this area. And someone goes, mom, dad, and an uncle, I've walked to this road. I know how to do it well. Vicki, I wanted to ask you, you're certified. What group, organization certified you?
I'm nationally with the dementia practitioner or the recreation therapy.
I don't know. You said you're a certified something.
Certified recreation therapist, and that's a national certification. And the certified dementia practitioner is also a national training specific for working with families with dementia.
Did you just Google those words and see what popped up, or did somebody send you information?
Well, recreation therapy was my career in college. So,
okay, so it was a college.
I left college, and the very first job I had was actually in a nursing home. And this was back when they smelled and they had the whole, this is back the images that so many people have, and they're not like that anymore. And so, I've just done.
It better not be.
I've come full circle. I've come full circle. But the one thing that I, as a recreation therapist, because there's a lot more in recreation than people. I'm working on another book. Are you ready for 25 years of free time? And the fact of the matter is, people aren't ready for retirement. They downsize, they get their finances in order. But in terms of your free time, alcoholism's on the rise, depression is on the rise, suicide's on the rise, all of these things because people don't know, because they've always gotten their self-worth out of their work, their purpose. And so now if there's no purpose, and so keep in mind that leisure is a state of mind, and we all need to find something where we can be so ingrained in that we have no awareness of what's going on around us, whether it's reading a book. And so leisure is a state of mind where you're totally free from compulsions. You're not being compelled to get up and open another book. You're not being compelled to do this. You're only in the moment. And that's what we work so hard on with these families. Step into their reality. You're only in the moment and share moments of joy.
I'm going to give Michael the last moment. Again, the hurdles Yes, I can hear you, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
hoping you can hear me.
Uh,
Yes.
my
Oh,
thing,
joy.
my thing's
The
been
hurt.
not working half the time with my mic.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
honestly, my husband had to mute it because of that swoosh noise.
yeah.
And you stuck with it. Thank you for your tenacity. And you will be, is it for sure that you will be entering the Dragon's Den?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They want me back. Like I said, they want the finances to be shown, which is why I have my new prototype coming out in 2 months, and people are pre-ordering. So that's why it's so impressive that all the seniors are. I worked with like 20 or 30 of them. They all were able to talk in big groups, small groups. They can hear each other. There's no background sounds. There's no, uh, there's no tinny sounds that you hear, right? Like my last product, you can actually hear background sounds. My new one, it cancels it out. So there's a smart noise reduction chip that's put inside it. So now
Oh,
you can focus on the
that's how.
conversations in front of you without all this background sounds, which is annoying, right? So this new product is going to
Oh,
be transcending. Seniors can feel engaged, they can feel included instead of being excluded from conversations, because they say that, I just want to hear what my grandchildren are saying. I just want to hear what everyone's talking at the table. Now I can finally hear without spending $8,000 or just going, dancing, and it falls out of my ears, my hearing aid, right? So seniors are very appreciative of this new technology, and they've been waiting for this for a long time. Um, because
mm,
just working with them just very makes it feel very gratifying, rewarding, because it is affordable and it's healthy because you're using the bone conduction, and while you're wearing it, like the headphone I'm wearing right now is actually squishing my ears, it's actually hurting my head. The one I have,
mm,
it doesn't hurt your head. They wear it for 8 hours a day, and it doesn't
yeah.
even phase them. They say it doesn't feel like they're wearing anything. So just like everything is just hitting the perfect uh everything for seniors, because no earwax buildup, no, be aware of your surroundings, nothing's in your ear. You can't lose this guy. It's easy to clean, easy to use, senior friendly. So everything is pointing to the right direction. And I feel like once everyone knows about it, most people are going to want to try it out, or at least buy one.
Yes.
And it could be children. Like I work with autistic children too, so I can even get in touch with with her, and you'll talk more
Yes.
about that, and people of all ages, right? It just happens I'm working with seniors,
Oh,
and I
toning
love
out
working with
that
seniors.
lawnmower that you were talking about, Vicky, that is, and it's pain. I'll end with this. My neighbor who got me going into this entire realm, when out on her lawn, she said, I'm shorthanded, come in Monday, I'll hire you. I said, I don't even know what you do. And it went from there. I learned this whole new world. And she was in a horrific accident. They called it 3 concussions at once. And she is constantly looking for new noise canceling possibilities for herself, because all it is a sound that my ear automatically kind of, you know, pulls away from. I don't know what happens inside there. And for her, she's like, I have to go inside. And because it is so painful, it just pierces her. And I'm thinking, she never had that before until the moment of that accident. And so I'm like, what can that do for her? Does it need 2 different things at once in order to work for her? And would she be more involved feel more involved and feel less, like you said, even the comfort. Yeah. How you feel about something. I feel that it's working for me. I feel like I don't have stigma because I've got this thing on that goes through the back, and everyone just goes, wow, they must be on an important conference call because they've got this thing on and they must be listening, and I want to, bother them or something. It's very cool. And I just thank all of you. I know we are nearly 5 minutes over time, and my husband's going, yes, you are. We need to stop. Hey, you guys, bye-bye.